It's 9 p.m., dinner ended barely 2 hours ago, and yet you're standing in front of the pantry, scanning the shelves for something sweet. Not hungry, exactly, just pulled. Maybe it's the couch snacking that starts the second the TV turns on. Or that foggy little energy dip you felt an hour after eating. You were fine all day, you skipped the office donuts without even trying. So why does the same craving feel impossible to resist by night? The answer isn't about sugar itself, or even self-control. It's about two things happening in your brain and blood at the exact same time, quietly working together, and once you see the mechanism, the 9 p.m. pantry mystery finally makes sense. Here's the strange part. This happens on a schedule, sharp and steady in the morning, slippery and weak by night. Same brain, same person, same day, just hours apart. And the craving itself doesn't even feel like normal hunger. It's specific. Not toast, not leftovers, not a second plate of dinner, just something sweet. Which raises the real question. If your body already ate, why is it suddenly negotiating for sugar like it's running out of fuel? That question is the whole mystery, and the answer isn't about weak character or a broken diet. It's about two quiet systems inside you, both losing power at the exact same time, without you ever noticing the shift. Let's start with the part of your brain that acts like a bouncer at the door of every impulse. It's called the prefrontal cortex, and its whole job is to step in and say no. No to the third slice of bread. No to the argument you want to start. No to the donut in the break room. But here's the part most people never learn. That bouncer doesn't work for free, and it doesn't work forever. It runs on a limited supply of mental fuel, and that fuel starts draining the second your alarm goes off. Every choice you make chips away at it. What to wear, what to answer first in your inbox, whether to bite your tongue in a meeting, whether to take the call or let it go to voicemail. None of these feel dramatic on their own, but your brain doesn't separate big decisions from small ones. It just spends energy every time it has to choose, weigh, resist, or restrain. By the time you've made it through a normal workday, you've already made hundreds of these tiny withdrawals from the same account, and that account doesn't refill until you sleep. This is why a mentally exhausting day hits differently by evening. You're not imagining it. If you spent the day making decisions, solving problems, managing your tone with a difficult coworker, or holding it together through back-to-back meetings, your control system is running on fumes before dinner even starts. So when the craving shows up later that night, it's not appearing out of nowhere. It's showing up at exactly the moment your brain has the least power left to push back. Now here's where the second half of the mystery enters, and this one isn't happening in your head, it's happening in your blood. If dinner leaned heavily on fast-digesting carbs, white rice, pasta, bread, something sweet for dessert, your blood sugar doesn't just rise, it spikes. Your body sees that spike and reacts fast, releasing insulin to sweep the sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells. But insulin doesn't do this gently. It often overcorrects, and a few hours after that spike, your blood sugar can crash below where it started. This crash is not some invisible lab number. It shows up as a feeling. That foggy, slightly flat, low-energy sensation you get an hour or two after dinner, right around the time you're on the couch, half watching something, half thinking about snacks. That fog isn't randomly timed. It's the direct downstream effect of the spike from earlier. Your body overshot on the way up, then overshot on the way down. Here's the part that makes this so easy to misread. Your brain doesn't experience a blood sugar dip as a mildly annoying inconvenience. It reads it as a fuel emergency. To your brain, low blood sugar looks the same whether it's caused by skipping meals for 6 hours or by a carb-heavy dinner crashing 2 hours later. The signal is the same. Energy is dropping. Do something now. This is an old survival response, built for a world where fuel was scarce and unpredictable. Your brain still runs that same alarm today, even in a kitchen fully stocked with food. So picture the timing here. Your self-control system, the bouncer at the door, is already worn down from a full day of decisions, and at almost the exact same hour, your blood sugar dips and sends out a signal that reads like a real emergency. Two systems, one mental, one physical, both losing power at the same time, both pointing toward the same solution. Your brain's reward system doesn't want a slow fix. It wants the fastest possible way to raise blood sugar and calm the alarm, and nothing does that faster than sugar itself. Not protein, not vegetables, not a balanced plate. Straight sugar, absorbed almost instantly, is the quickest signal your brain knows how to use to shut off a fuel emergency. This double hit also explains why the craving gets so much easier to act on once distraction enters the picture. The moment the TV turns on or the phone comes out, your remaining attention splits even further. Whatever small amount of control power was still holding the line now has to compete with a show, a feed, a group chat. Mindless snacking rarely starts in a quiet, focused moment. It starts when your attention is already divided, because a divided brain has even less oversight watching the decision happen. The pantry doesn't get raided during a moment of full awareness. It gets raided in the gap where awareness has thinned out. And this is exactly why the same person can look completely different at two ends of the same day. At 8 in the morning, control power is full, blood sugar is steady from the night's rest, and skipping a donut takes zero effort. By 9 at night, that same brain is short on control fuel and riding the tail end of a sugar crash. Nothing about willpower changed. Nothing about character changed. Two systems that were fully charged in the morning are simply running low by night, at the same time, for reasons that have nothing to do with discipline. Now here's the useful part of this mystery. You can't do much about the mental fatigue side tonight. That prefrontal fuel tank drains no matter what you eat, worn down by every decision, every meeting, every small negotiation with yourself throughout the day. But the other half of the mechanism, the blood sugar half, is not fixed. It's not something you're stuck with. It's a pattern created earlier in the evening, which means it's a pattern that can be shaped earlier in the evening too. The dip is not random weather rolling in. It's the direct result of what happened on your plate a few hours before. And that makes it the one lever in this whole story you actually have your hand on. So here's the shift. Tonight, when you sit down for dinner, add one palm-sized portion of protein or fiber to the plate. Chicken, eggs, beans, lentils, a handful of nuts, extra vegetables, whatever fits naturally into what you're already eating. This isn't about swapping out your meal or restricting anything. It's about changing the shape of the curve that follows it. Protein and fiber slow down digestion. They slow the rate sugar enters your bloodstream. Instead of a sharp spike followed by a hard crash, you get something closer to a gentle hill. And a gentle hill doesn't trigger the same alarm a steep cliff does. This is worth sitting with for a second, because it reframes everything that happened before. That craving at 9 p.m. was never a broken willpower story. It was two very real systems, one in your brain, one in your blood, both genuinely running low at the exact same hour. Your prefrontal cortex was low on control fuel from a full day of decisions. Your blood sugar was dropping after an earlier spike. Your brain read that dip as an energy emergency, the same way it would read any real fuel shortage, and it reached for the fastest available fix. That's not a character flaw. That's a system doing exactly what it's built to do when it senses a threat to its fuel supply, even when the threat is really just a dinner plate heavy on fast carbs. So over the next few nights, pay attention, not with pressure, just with curiosity. Notice whether that foggy dip an hour or two after dinner feels a little smaller. Notice whether the pull toward the pantry at 9 p.m. feels a touch quieter than it usually does. You're not trying to eliminate the craving completely or prove anything to yourself. You're just watching whether flattening that one curve changes how loud the signal feels later.
Urbaybaylamint mubanamadatuatiana momtawam panodamishian gurnabanteldam biangawam tamchinmand bisis gumtfilm madinantampen changwanmin mintanpendanan kurant bom miontam kinmin pinsam kandapandang bandans anbamskan bedswin sampanun dambansam bon min poskampand mion ban mintantawan bon man bens deon mankin band van bank we bon nodan dam dant dort finson bambentan mem banjan van banson van bantam bantiam gomfan.
On nights that follow a heavy, decision-packed day, back-to-back meetings, a hard conversation, too many small choices stacked on top of each other, you may still feel some pull toward the pantry, even with a well-balanced dinner. That's expected. That's the mental fatigue side of the mechanism, still doing its own thing, independent of what was on your plate. A harder night isn't proof that the plate adjustment failed. It's just a reminder that this craving has always had two parents, not one, and only one of them lives on your dinner plate. So the next time you catch yourself standing in front of that pantry at 9 p.m., scanning the shelves for something sweet, you'll know exactly what's happening. It's not a willpower failure. It's not a personal flaw showing up only at night. It's a predictable crash and reward loop, built from a tired control system and a blood sugar dip reading like an emergency. And the real fix for tonight's version of that loop was never going to be found standing at the pantry at all. It was sitting quietly on your dinner plate, hours earlier, waiting for one small addition to change the whole shape of the night ahead.